And welcome back to In Spotlight, To Read Not to Read with your host Amanda Thompson. This month we are featuring the character Asami Sato from The Legend of Korra. Now, I mentioned doing a video about Asami a while back on Twitter and promptly forgot about it, so I apologize for the long wait. I know there were a couple of people who were really excited about this idea, so I hope you guys enjoy it. First off, I just want to say a couple of things about The Legend of Korra. I love this show. It has great characters, great storyline, great turmoil, and great action. It's not Avatar: The Last Airbender, nor I think as good a show, but it is still a good show. My favorite part about The Legend of Korra is probably one that I have heard a lot of people really dislike, and that is seeing how the creators, Mike DiMartino and Brian Konietzko, have decided to modernize and develop their world. It completely fascinates me. I love to see how it has evolved from the sort of medieval world that Aang and Sokka and everyone knew into this 20s Chinese steampunk place. I love every aspect of it. Metal bending cops, the mixed bending families, and the derision between benders and non-benders, and just, I love all of it. I love seeing the directions that they have decided to take this universe that they have created, and I have absolutely no problems with it. No qualms at all. I love the way it's unfolding, and I can't wait to see what happens next. I'm going to say some things, especially about the characters and their relationships, that could be construed as complaining. I'm not. I understand that a lot of people have been very vocal about their dissatisfaction with, who wound up with who, and some of just the other issues that are going on with the story. And I think that's kind of unfortunate because, as I understand it, it's becoming a bit of a sore spot for the creators of the show. So I just want to make it clear that I'm not trying to tell anybody how the show should be written or where it's gone wrong or its big mistakes or anything, because I am satisfied with the show so far. Basically, what I'm going to talk about here is Asami's character and where I hope she goes from here, just based on her character. As far as who ends up with who, I'm really just satisfied to sit back and watch and see what happens. Mostly. As long as Mako doesn't wind up with Asami, which I'll explain in a minute. Anything that I mention here is not me telling the world how the show should be written, more just my hopes and expectations for the coming season. And they're all character related, not because I'm shipping a certain couple. When I first started watching The Legend of Korra, I did not particularly like the character of Asami Sato. Mostly this is because I had already become convinced by the character sketches I saw even before the show aired that A, Mako would be my favorite character, and B, Mako and Korra would be the Aang and Katara for the show. When Asami came in, she messed with both of these preconceptions. First, because Mako obviously liked Korra, but he went on a date with Asami anyway. Obviously, this is crucial to the awkward love triangle that develops, but it made Mako seem a bit like a two-timer to me, and that made him less and less my favorite character. Now don't freak out! I understand that this is just normal teenage love triangle, that Mako isn't actually two-timing anybody, that he's just an average guy caught between two different girls that he likes. I don't have a problem with it. I didn't necessarily like this development, but I also didn't have a problem with it. Because I want to see the story that Mike and Brian want to tell, not the story that I want them to tell. When Asami first came in, she felt like a spoiled rich girl who wanted to make everything okay with her money. She swept in, created the love triangle, made sure the Fire Ferrets got into the tournament, etc., etc., etc. My original fear was that it would eventually devolve into constant bickering and catfights between Asami and Korra. But it didn't. The more I watched of Asami, the more and more I liked her. Yes, she was a spoiled rich girl, but she also had personality, and depth, and goals, and determination, and intelligence, and independence. The other thing I loved about her was that she didn't just see Korra as competition for Mako's affection. Obviously, there are some moments of this, but Asami never really takes it out on Korra. The two actually become genuine friends, and I really, really liked that. Before the end of the first season, Asami Sato had become one of my favorite characters. In case you're curious, Tenzin, Lin Beifong, Bolin, Asami Sato. especially in the second season, I think she develops into a strong, independent person. And I love to see her story unfolding. Unfortunately, I do feel that she was underplayed in the second season. She wasn't as involved as I wish she'd been, especially at the end. Okay, now I am going to start talking about the romantic relationships. So run if you can't stand to listen. Run now! Asami needs to dump Mako and never take him back. That's really all there is to it. Again, this isn't because I hate Mako, because he dumped Asami for Korra, and then went back to Asami when Korra dumped him, and then pretended that he and Korra never broke up, which he loses her memory and leaves Asami out in the cold. All pretty bad stuff, especially when you think about it. Like I pointed out before, Mako never technically dumped Asami before he started a relationship with Korra. I know they were probably pressed for time for the finale, but Mako and Asami never actually broke up, at least that we saw, on screen. Moving on. I do not dislike Mako. I do not dislike that those things happened in the storyline. I actually enjoyed it because it makes the story interesting. I like to see it unfold. I do not have a problem with how Mike and Brian have chosen to tell their story. This is all real-life situations and genuine development opportunities for the characters, and I love character development. The reason Asami needs to dump Mako and never take him back is because she is a strong, independent, and intelligent young woman. I think to keep her this kind of character, she needs to realize that being in a relationship with Mako is not good for her. After Korra dumped Mako and he got back together with Asami, I didn't have a problem with that. It was a reasonable move. Asami still really liked Mako, and Mako still really liked Asami, and he was probably regretting dumping her in the first place because he just realized that having a relationship with Korra was probably a huge mistake. Which, by the way, it was, because a relationship between Korra and Mako is never going to work until both of them have some serious character development. But again, not a problem for the story, an interesting development. The saying goes, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Asami has already been burned by Mako once when he dumped her for Korra. They re-entered the relationship because both Asami and Mako thought they could really give it another try. That's fine. Not a problem. But when Korra comes back without her memory and thinks she's still dating Mako and Mako doesn't correct her, burn. I'm not blaming Mako. I mean, it's a tough situation. I get that Mako's big flaw is that he doesn't want to hurt anybody. By trying to avoid it, he winds up hurting everyone. I get that he's not malicious or an intentional heartbreaker. That's why I don't have a problem with the character of Mako. But Asami's face in that scene, he basically just dumped her for Korra for the second time. That is not something that any girl deserves. That is why she needs to move on from Mako. Staying in a relationship with a person who treats you like that, well-intentioned or no, is not healthy. I don't think it would be characteristic of Asami either, because continuing to pine after Mako without learning her lesson would make her a sad, pathetic, and desperate person, and she isn't. Asami needs to dump Mako for good for herself. Not to punish him or anything, but because she realizes that it's the best move for her. And I want it to be hard. I want to see Asami Sato heartbroken and alone. I want to see Mako beg for forgiveness and try to make things right. But in the end, I want Asami not to take him back, no matter what he says, because she realizes that she deserves better, that she deserves somebody who really is going to treat her right. Let's face it, guys, Mako hasn't been the best boyfriend. He hasn't exactly treated her like dirt, but it's been pretty close sometimes. Asami deserves better than that, but more importantly, she needs to realize that she deserves better than that. I see this as an incredible story and character arc for Asami. But more than that, I think it's something that people watching the show need to see. Someone that you like isn't always going to be the best thing for you. Having a boyfriend shouldn't be the most important part about being a teenager. I think it will be very important to see such a great and strong character as Asami dealing with the realization that she is in a bad relationship and that she needs to get out. It's not violent or even explosive like Korra and Mako's was, but it's bad all the same. This potential storyline just has so much emotion and development. If I see anything from the next season, anything, I really want it to be Asami dealing with this. I think it would be very important, not only for her as a character, but for Mako as a character, and also for everyone watching it. Now I would like to take a moment and circle back around to Mako. I stated in the beginning that Asami needs to dump him and never take him back. I'll add an addendum. If Mako realizes how he's mistreated Asami, and if he actually grows out of it, and if he develops into someone who will be deserving of Asami, and if he fights and fights and fights to prove it to her, then, and only then, would I be okay with the two of them getting back together for the third time. Anything less than that, I think it would be an insult not only to Asami's character and intelligence, but to relationships everywhere. What they deserve is a man who will treat them right, and they don't deserve to put up with anything less than that. I think the show has a magnificent opportunity to show that, and to display that, and to use that to its best advantage, and I really, really, really hope they do. So there. Again, I love the show. I don't have a problem with anything that the show has done, but I would really love to see if this happens for Asami next season, because I think it stretches past just a love interest or a love triangle. Relationships shouldn't just be about who you like, but about how they treat you and what you deserve. I think they've done a good job illustrating that with Mako and Korra's unsuccessful relationship, but in a different way. I think demonstrating this kind of story with Asami could be even more important. Okay, enough rambling. Hopefully I didn't bore anybody or step on anyone's toes. I'm not berating, I'm just sharing an opinion. I can't wait to see what Mike and Brian do with the third season. As always, I love these guys and their work, and I will see you guys later.